Hi everybody, welcome back to Speak Up Monday with an unusual count. I'm pretty sure we lost the 4-second mark in there. So welcome here at Tropical Nomad every Monday, 6:30 Monday till around 8:30 or so. And as you know, the idea of Speak Up Monday is about inspiration is caught, not taught. So inspiration is caught, not taught. And it's a conversation that happens between two of us, or more, as the case may be. Today it's two. So welcome, Jamie Janko.
Thank you.
And we've been trying to get this together for 7 months. So it's a long time waiting, which is great. So now, as you know, I am an advisor, so I help businesses and large inbound tourism initiatives find their market, find success using strategic collaborations, right? Strategic partnerships. So now tonight, Jamie is a holistic health coach and
breathwork
guide. So if you're interested in either one of those, then you've tuned into the right episode. We're here in Bali, as we know, and I think I recently did a breathwork retreat. I think it was around 4 or 5 months ago. Blew my mind.
Yes,
it was so cool. So I'm really looking forward to getting a bit deeper into underneath the covers of this. So if you're in a stage of your life where maybe you're looking for some answers. Maybe you're in a stage of your life where right now, with everything which is going on, you either find yourself in maybe 1 or 2 or 3 places. One place is that you might be thriving beyond all belief. You might be there, or you might find yourself in a place where you're suffering, right? Where you're just about surviving, where there's a number of challenges or issues that you're facing, and you're finding it difficult to either meet them head on or to overcome them. Tonight will be a great episode for you. Or you might find yourself somewhere in the middle. Right? Some days are great, some days not so great, right? So tonight, I'm sure we're going to be touching upon areas where everyone who's watching this tonight, whether it's here live at Tropical Nomad or whether it's via the various social media platforms that we stream this to, you're going to gain some wisdom, some insights, and if you grab a pen, piece of paper, or your phone, maybe you get the chance to record some of them. And remember, you're listening for the things which you don't know. Right? So listen with that ear of the things which maybe are new to you. Right? Listen with that ear of, maybe the things that maybe you don't agree with. Right? So try listening through that ear and that context and try to emphasize and see how we go. Now, starting off at an unusual place, how can people get in touch with you?
Through Instagram is best. Jamie Janko.
Jamie Janko, and that's J-A?
M-I-E-J-A-N-K-O.
All right, 'cause I've got a feeling that some people are going to be wanting to hear more from you. So look, when we're obviously here in Bali, so when we hear holistic practitioner, coach, when we hear breath work, for a lot of people here, it perhaps isn't something new or something that they haven't heard of before. But perhaps some people who are tuning in now don't really get it and don't really understand. So maybe a great place to start would be, how would you define what it is that you do?
Okay, so I'll go back a little bit. It all started for me in personal training. So I had a whole career before, which I'm sure we'll get into, but I left and went straight into personal training because I went through a time in my life that was incredibly difficult. I guess we'll start at the beginning. How about that?
We can start wherever you want. The interesting part is that it's not even answering the questions. It's what is spurned. It's what is triggered by the question.
Yes, and that's this. So my first career was in Major League Baseball. I worked for 3 different teams in the U.S., the Atlanta Braves, the New York Yankees, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And during this time, it was over about 11 years, and I worked in different pieces, but I ended my career leading a large team of employees at the Dodgers in fan experience. So that was research and development of what's happening off the field, how to create an experience that's almost like Disney World, an experience that you want to bring your family to, and you want to get more than just what's happening on the field. So in this career, I was working crazy hours, over 80 hours a week. I was training, hiring employees, doing big events like concerts, games, lots of different stuff. And I began then to question, what am I doing? Like, everything is looking so good on paper. I'm so into what I'm doing, but what legacy is this going to lead? Where is this going to take me? I got really sick. I started to gain a lot of weight. I had rashes all over my body that no doctor could explain. And it wasn't until I saw a holistic healthcare practitioner that pointed to some things I hadn't looked before, like stress, even levels of confidence. She looked at all different kinds of levels and blood work and that kind of stuff too, but it really came down to stress. And during that time, I was also trying to compete in CrossFit. I was working out an insane amount, burning out my adrenals. And at that moment, I was like, this is what burnout is. This is what, like, I've hit it. I can't do anything else. And so at that moment, I decided I wanted to get out of baseball. I wanted to leave this career that looked so great on paper and go help other women before they hit burnout. And to me, that looked like personal training. And so I left baseball, went completely into personal training and nutrition coaching. And in that, I found that I couldn't cross that barrier with my clients. And what I mean by that is we were doing all the fitness, but it wasn't quite landing for them. It wasn't landing because we weren't working on what's on the inside. We were just trying to fix the movement and the nutrition. And in that, I realized, take a step back. I've got to get inside first. And once you go inside and you start working on the past traumas, the things that you don't even know that you have, that you're carrying from your childhood, your patterns, your different conditionings, it's at that point that you can make the big changes, whether it's your fitness, whether it is nutrition. But all at the end of the day, it's becoming who you really are at the inside. And so my approach on like holistic coaching is that. So it is the fitness, it is the nutrition, but there's a huge piece that is about bringing out like who you really are, dealing with those things that you have tucked deep inside of you you haven't looked at before. And it's using that breath work to keep it all clear. So you're bringing this stuff up, you're working through it, and you're clearing it out.
Got it. I'm going to ask this question. So who are you?
Who am I?
On the inside.
I am a playful and generous lover, and I am a servant, and I am here to fully express and let expression be my playground.
Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, that, there's a guy we interviewed here, Richard Harrington, right? 24, age of 24, South African. He was financially free, went through a whole thing, And, one of the things that we covered off with him was that, I have emotions, but I'm not my emotions, right? I have fear, but I'm not my fear, right? I have all of these other things that I can identify as being me. Mm-hmm. But that's not me, right? Who I am is pure spirit, mm-hmm. right? And that's probably where that question came from, right? So if I said to you, like pure spirit, like what comes up for you?
What comes up for me is just pure consciousness, is like a collective consciousness within all of humanity. So what if we are not like only our spirit? What if we are a collective spirit? That's what it brings up.
Got it. So then going back to the baseball and like working like those crazy hours and thinking that maybe on the outside like this is it, but then on the inside you had this feeling that, hey, this is not it, right? Yeah. And I guess for a lot of people it's difficult to reach out. Right?
Yes.
Because maybe we haven't got the same level of awareness, self-awareness to know, hey, I'm in trouble mm-hmm. here. Like I think there's this part possibly of human beings, like I definitely have it, right? Which is like, well, you know what? I'll find a way. Mm-hmm. That's the mindset. No matter what happens, I'll find a way. Yeah. But maybe I won't, mm-hmm. right? But in my mind, That's how I see it. So then, if there's people watching now who are maybe going through the similar place that you were going through, right? When should they reach out? Like, when should they stop and say, you know what? I think I'm giving myself some bullshit lip service here. I think I actually need some help. I need to talk to someone.
I think that's the moment. That's the very moment. For me, I was very much in the camp of, it starts at the very beginning again. Like growing up, I grew up in Georgia in the U.S., and it's part of the Bible Belt. It's very much a Christian conservative place. I grew up in the church. It was always, this straight and narrow path. It was this speak when spoken to, you're a pretty little girl, things like that. It wasn't like you can dream big, you can go somewhere, you can go to Bali and live. Like, there weren't options like that for me. And my family, my mom, while she knew exactly what to say, she said, you can do anything, you can be anything, but there were no tools, there were no resources, there was nothing to back any of that up. So I grew up with big dreams, and then had to fight to even get to baseball. That at the time was something that was just like, you should go into this like business or something like this. There wasn't even a place for baseball, though that was a very like successful route for me. But it was all about this like perfection. You're going to this school, you're marrying this man, you're living this life. And once it got to the point when I was in LA, and it was like, okay, the next thing is you get a house with a white picket fence, a dog and a cat, 2 children, a boy and then a girl. It was just like, whoa, that was the moment that I woke up and was like, I can't do this anymore by myself. I can't keep going down this road and telling myself that everything is just going to be okay. Because sure, it would have been okay, but would I be living my life? Would I be able to grow, expand, leave the legacy that I want to leave? So I waited too long. I know that I waited too long. I know that I could have reached out. I could have, whatever. I could have done whatever, but I didn't. And that's okay. And I'm at total peace with that, and I'm very proud of my past and who I have, where I've came from and who I am and where I'm going. But I would say if anyone had that question, this is the moment. If you're asking yourself, it's the moment. So whether it is reaching out through, there's so many different modalities. One thing that blew my mind and brought me back home to myself was breathwork. I'll never forget my first session. It was in Venice, California. And it was about 10 minutes in. I'm crying everywhere. I'm feeling feelings I've never felt before because I think I've been suppressing them for so long. I haven't been expressing myself. And everything comes out. And I was like, something's here. Something's here. This is a modality I want to explore because it broke me open like something I'd never felt before.
So what is it then? Because from what I can hear, right, is that you were given from your parents this idea that you, or your mum, that you could do anything, right? But you're saying that you didn't have some of the tools to be able to do that, right? And we all know that Major League Baseball is no small thing. This is a powerful thing, especially in the US, right? So what is it, do you think, within you that never gave up? Like, where did that thing come from? Like, what did it look like? How was it forged? Yeah.
I think it was, what comes to mind, I'm sure I could think of a better answer, but what's coming through my body is that I was left alone a lot as a child. And I would act things out, and I wanted to be an actress, and I would, make scenes and plays in my room, and I was alone so often, I think, that I became really creative in my mind. And but I couldn't be creative in front of everyone. So I would just keep it all in. But I think as I got through college, and at one point I was like, look, I'm gonna be a theater minor. And my parents were like, you're crazy. And I was like, no, that's what I'm gonna do. And so I did. And I think half of it was knowing and trusting my own creativity, although I didn't really share it. And another half was really just walking my own path. My uncle, coolest guy in the world, passed away way too young. He used to say that I marched to the beat of my own drum. So I think that really helped too, just me doing my own thing. I was always known as like Jamie just doing her own thing. When it was t-ball and all the kids are like hitting and they're in the outfield doing what they're supposed to do, I'm doing cartwheels. So it's like, it's just, I think that maybe it's something that I nurtured myself, or something maybe that was just part of me.
I'm getting this picture now of cartwheels. Jamie Cartwheel, Janko. Bloody Jamie, come over here.
I would get in so much trouble.
Yeah,
Jeez.
so you would, so like, were you ever punished?
Oh yeah, I'm from the South again, where you're threatened that you're gonna have to go pick out your own switch, which is essentially like pick out a stick to get beat with. I never got really beat with a stick, but definitely belts and stuff like that. It feels like a time very, very long ago, and I don't imagine parents do that so much anymore, but you never know.
Hey, don't ask me about that. Our kids drive me nuts. Honey, kids, you're not watching this. Daddy's not going to tell the truth right now. Don't watch this. So then, so like maybe people are watching saying, okay, so I get, where you came from, I get the US, I get the Bible Belt, I get that, I get that you would walk into the beat of your own drum, right? That you're spending time by yourself, that you were acting out by yourself. And so in a way, there's a lady called Tasia Valenza, right? Who's a dear friend. She's Emmy Award actress. She's like a Star Wars actress as well. Like she Give Great Voice is the name of her movement, and what she does is that she is a voiceover artist as well. She accesses kids. How do I call it? Kids winning formulas using superheroes. Right, which I really, we as kids, right? I used to pretend I was, was the X-Man with the eagle eyes, right? Because I didn't have much hair, right? But it's actually very powerful because as a kid, if you can start to relate to those archetypes,
that's awesome,
right? Wonder Woman, if you're a woman, Superman, all these other things, that it like what you do not see in yourself, you begin to support that you don't see yet. So this invisible then becomes visible later. So it's a really powerful way to unite ourselves to the highest part of ourselves, like that highest inner wisdom, that inner, pardon the French, motherfucker, right?
Yes.
It really, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? So I'm hearing stuff like this in your story. Love it. So then from this kind of holistic health perspective, right? If you're looking back now and there's people watching thinking, okay, I have a similar upbringing or not. Like I have this holistic thing, I get a little sense of it, right? So when you look back at your life and you look at the puzzle and the pieces, like going through the forest and you're dropping breadcrumbs, right? Like what, like 3 or 4, if you can think of them, kind of major breadcrumbs do you see that you kind of think, hey, you know what? I was always supposed to do this.
I would say one would be something along the lines of doing cartwheels in the outfield. And what I mean by that is just like constantly following my own beat, following my own thing, finding my own way. That reminds me of rock climbing. I love rock climbing. And the thing is, when you're with a group, everyone's finding like the best way up, and you copy what you see. But my favorite thing is that you find your own way. You find your own footing. And so that has been one piece, is just always finding my own footing, no matter what happens. But in that same token, that's a sense of just like moving. And that skips ahead pretty far to
It's whatever comes up.
Whatever comes up. Another breadcrumb would be, I remember in my 20s, I was very much the go-to person for advice, the go-to person for, what do I do in this situation with my boyfriend? What do I do? I have an eating disorder. What do I do friendships or whatever. So I think that is like a very much of a tale looking back, is that I was always the giver of advice. And in that, I would always listen, ask questions, and have the person give themselves their own advice. And so that is something I use in my coaching all the time, because coaching is actually you finding your own answers within. I just ask you the questions. I just guide you there. So that's something I think I've been doing my whole life as well, but that I haven't named. And another breadcrumb is my uncle that I had mentioned when he passed away in 2014. That moment changed my life, I think, forever in so many ways. And I gave a speech at his funeral, and it was in that moment, in that speech, I looked around the room and just jaws were dropped and eyes were wide. And I was like, okay, there's something here. There's a way of inspiration. There's a way of motivation. There's a way of speaking. There's something here for me. And I think that was a major breadcrumb at that time, too.
Beautiful. Yes. I get visions of this eulogy of you standing in your power, just laying it down, Lovely. So then, conversely to that, like, have there been any moments in your life where you've really seriously doubted?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, all of us, right? I remember, the last one, or one of the last big ones, was when COVID in March 2020, when it was like, I was working at a gym in California called Equinox, and I was so excited to be launching my own business. I had my last session at Equinox just 3 days before all the gyms closed, right as I was going into like creating my own thing. And I just remember on the floor just being like, oh my God, like what have I done? What have I done? Like this is the moment. Like there's nothing to hold me up right now, because not only at that time I had lost that, the safety of, my job after leaving a really successful job in baseball to go be a personal trainer, which, people are like, what are you doing? So then I lose that, all the footing under me, and I'm also in the middle of going through a divorce, and it's like everything is falling down. And during that time, I had moved into an apartment that had a garage, and I tricked it out into this most amazing gym, turned it into an incredible business during COVID, but at that moment, I had no footing. Like everything was just gone. So that was one of my last biggest moments of...
What do you do, right? So there's people probably watching now, going through some serious stuff, right? For them, what they feel is like, fuck, this is it. Like, what did you do? Because, you're in a place where you're saying there's no footing left.
Yeah.
Like being on a rock and you're like,
yeah.
I can't go up, I can't go down. Maybe I have a safety line, maybe I don't.
Yeah.
I'm there going like, fuck, like what do I do? So in a situation like that, what did you do? Like what was the thing that brought you back, if there was a thing?
I think through that I lost all my safety. So it was like my livelihood, my job, this relationship that was in the lines of that perfection of the own paper that we talked about. And in that moment, I had to sit with myself. I had never really done that before. I had to stop and look in and get an idea of like what my options were. So I'm such a almost a data-driven. I'm super spatially oriented. Like I work really well with logistics, and so to me it was like, let me write down all my logistics and da-da-da-da-da. But even that wouldn't save me, because I was like, wait, this is my thing. But that couldn't save me. And I went inside and I gave myself permission to feel what I was feeling, to be on the floor and feel my emotions again for some of the first times ever, and really get into that nasty, gritty shit on the inside. Because out of that, I reached out to people that I knew I could talk to. So it was leaning on my community. It was also getting in therapy. That was one of the beginning of like wanting to find someone to help me in a professional way. It was going to my breathwork coach. It was then getting into guiding breathwork on my own. It was a lot of these different methods that otherwise I don't know what I would have done. And it was movement. It was doing too. I always say that like living is all about the doing. Like it's about like getting out there, adventuring, experiencing. And so I did. I drove all around Southern California, picked up equipment for this gym I was going to create. I started doing. And I think that regardless of what your doing looks like, doing is the path to living.
Well, nasty, gritty shit.
Yeah.
Just comes right back for you too, right? Nasty, gritty shit. So what did your nasty, gritty shit look like? And how did you...
My nasty, gritty shit, well, it was gooey and it was dark. And no, it looked like meeting pieces of myself that I had not been willing to meet. So people talk a lot about shadow work, a lot about, meeting the darkness. I have lived in the light my whole life. And they would, talk about my joy and my light and my energy. But I really didn't have a capacity for the depth, the shadow, the darkness, the pain. And so I find that the more that I dig into that depth, the more capacity for the joy I have, the more capacity I have for that struggle, that shadow, that like the shame, all of this goo, like the higher I can go, the lighter I can go, the more energy I have to be that servant in the world that I want to be. So how? It was through working with other people. It was speaking. It was knowing that I needed to visit those places. And I think a lot of us can get really nervous about going there because you don't know what you're going to see, and you're not going to be very proud of what you see typically. But to get into that really embarrassing stuff and to own it, that was it. And I'm still going through that. I am still working that shadow stuff. And that was a big thing about coming to Bali. I was talking to my therapist and she was like, what are you expecting to get from Bali? And I was like, I want to go to the depths. Like I want to get all in this shadow work, and I want to find the capacity for that joy and love, and I want to understand myself more. And she's like, I don't know that you'll find that there. But I have found an incredible woman that I work with here that really has gotten me on a deeper path of knowing myself, because that, at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's knowing ourselves even better. And when we do, and when we rise our own consciousness, we rise that of humanity.
Rise that of humanity. Can you explain that, what you mean by that? I got a very strong understanding, but maybe these people haven't. Yeah.
So when you raise your vibration, raise your consciousness, your awareness, you act and you do from a different place. And the more that you do, the more that you allow others to do the same and encourage others to do the same. And as we do that, it multiplies and multiplies and multiplies. And we see a change in the world.
Got it. How do you like not get stuck in that shadow stuff? Because this stuff can be addictive for some people, right?
It can be.
They're just like, guess what I found today? I found another one. I'm going to go down that one as well. And you can spend, right? It's like a new crutch.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So how do you avoid, or how do you imbibe, or how do you know the difference between this is crutch time, or actually this is exactly where I need to go right now?
So I think it's very easy to get in that healing loop. So where it's like you find this thing, you work on this thing that leads into that other thing, and then you can't rise from it. I think that happens to a lot of people. I've been there. I have conversations often about this, actually. And I think what it does, for me, it comes back to doing. And that's the most simple thing, and it may sound incredibly simple, but it is. We are more than the guilt and the shame from yesterday. What did we do today? What are we doing tomorrow? What is it that we can do today? I think that this is really interesting, the idea of acting the way you want to feel. So I think that you can look at this different ways. But the way I look at it is, say I'm not feeling really well. I'm on the floor. I'm in a place. If I know in my head, like we talked about earlier, I am not my feelings, I am not my emotions, I want to feel good. I want to feel good. So I'm going to act the way I want to feel. I'm going to put on some music. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to dance around. That's going to change me. That's going to change how my body feels. That's going to change how my mind moves. I'm not saying that you don't feel what you're feeling and that you don't experience the emotions and let them move through you. But instead, how can all these things exist at one time? Because we're a whole. You're not pieces. You're the good and the bad all together. And really, is there even a good and a bad? I'm going to go with no. So, experiencing life as a whole, as we are, completely through our body, I think that is the key. And I think that you do that by doing and by living and by expressing. Yeah.
You're on fire.
Fire!
Girls on fire! Love it. Love it, Jamie. Love it. You know, are there any more of you? Are there any brothers and sisters? Not like that. It was no, it's not like that. I was referring to siblings. Come on.
I'm looking for other Jamies. But
Not as in siblings, but brothers and sisters.
I have one brother, Justin, that's 3 years older than me.
Yeah. So how did they turn out? I'm interested to know, because you've come a certain route. Is there a similarity? Is there a lot of difference?
Let's have a conversation. There's a lot of differences.
Yeah.
So when I was about third grade, he was fifth grade when my parents divorced. And he and I didn't spend a lot of time together. He was diagnosed early with ADHD and with a lot of learning disabilities, and he had a really tough time with school, which created a lot of misbehavior, which then landed him through years into jail. He was a meth addict, and he was coping and numbing in so many different ways about so many different things. And I remembered my wedding. He couldn't be at my wedding because he was in jail. And he has since gotten out, and he has a beautiful family. But he still has that somewhat of an addiction. And so he's found a way to feel that addiction, in my opinion, through church and Christianity, and through a way there, which I'm really grateful that he's still with us, because my mom had always say, either he's going to die or he's going to be in jail. And we're so grateful that he went to jail.
Is there anything you'd like to do for him? With what you know now?
I've had some conversations with him, but they haven't really landed. And I don't think that is because of where he's at. I don't think it's because of where I'm at. I think there's an opportunity for a longer term conversation as we both get older, because I think that he sees me as someone maybe a little more in the clouds, and just trying to meet him in the middle.
Yeah. It's interesting that, I grew up in children's homes for 18 years, and I met so many different types of people,
Mm-hmm.
and there are times where you see yourself in others, right? And so that was one reason why I asked the question, was because, when we go through a sense of our own journey, whatever that might be, then sometimes there's opportunities to meet others where they are, and connect there.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful thing to do if you can do it.
It is, and I'm really glad that you asked me that question, because that's not something that has been on my mind. Mm-hmm. It's very easy. He's in Georgia, I'm here, and he's Also, my family is very country into the sense of like we grew up on a dirt road. There's not a ton of Wi-Fi. Like it's a whole thing. So like I even say to myself, oh, I can't even really communicate with him. But that's not true. And I think that that's a really interesting idea to meet a little more in the middle and actually put some effort into it.
I hope so. Thank you. And look, so breath work, right? I love breath work. I'm
Same.
pretty sure everyone else here does as well. So, but for you, again, some people here maybe not aware of what it is or have heard of it but don't really know. So if you could really describe as best you can breath work, and let's dive a little bit deeper into what it holds for you. Yeah.
So there's lots of different types of breath work. The type that I guide and the type that I really enjoy is it's a type of holotropic breathwork. So it is
holotropic. You should probably explain that.
So holotropic. So hollow, that comes from the word like wholeness, and tropic is to look within, or pertaining to like inward or to change. And so the format of this breath, it is a belly breath, a chest breath, and out the mouth. So it goes like, and you're doing this, continuously. Again, different types. The type that I'm looking at is this 3-part circular, so 1, 2, 3, and it's about 24 to 26 minutes is a sweet spot. It's really intense. So it isn't just an in and out, but a really big push. Set to really intense music, and I like to guide people in with a meditation, guide them out with some kind of like visualization. And what's really incredible is after about, I would say 5 minutes or so, you can really drop in really deep, and it's almost, it is an active meditation. And in this, there's so many things that can happen. Emotional things can come up, past traumas. You can see photos, pictures in your mind. You can release in different ways that things you don't even know why. People will be screaming, they'll cry. There are lots of different things that can come out of breathwork. What I really love about breathwork for me is I look at it as a piece of almost like approachable spirituality. So like I said earlier, I'm very into like the data-driven piece, the more like a scientific piece too. So it's not, breathwork I know can get into this like woo-woo land too. I love the place where it is a little more on that like science side. But yeah, that's breathwork. And it can be magical in so many ways. It unlocks, I would say. Yeah.
So just double checking. So Itchy and Bella, we've got the third microphone. Yeah. So people here in the audience, if you have any questions, I've got a feeling that some of you may have questions too. Just put your hand up and we'll get one of these to you, right? And then once you get it, sounds silly, I know, but put it towards your mouth and ask a question. Every week, trust me, it doesn't happen. So if you do have a question, just put your hand up, right, and we'll hear your question. So now, breathwork. So for you, what is one of the most, if you can recount or describe one of the most, for you, important experiences that came out of breathwork?
I know exactly. I was at, a friend of mine does beach breathwork in Venice, and it's absolutely beautiful. He brings out a speaker. He does it like right before sunset, and then it's gorgeous when you open your eyes, and it's a whole experience. And I'll never forget this day because, side note, we went to the beach first, and we had on like our bikinis, and we go over to breathwork, and we start, but he starts us in yoga first, and so I'm wearing this thong bikini doing yoga on the beach, and I'm like, oh my God. And we get into the breath work, we drop in, and I will never forget this story I saw. It was the most beautiful story in the world. And since I've turned it into a meditation, and I'm turning it into a children's book. It's unbelievable. And I saw it, I lived it, I walked through it. And do you want to hear it?
Yeah, of course.
So let's like all close our eyes and like get into it. Let's do this.
Everyone close your eyes, get into it. Hey, you're here, you may as well do it.
Yep, here. All right. So we're going to go on a journey. And we're going to take a few deep breaths in through our mouth and out through our mouth. And we're going to see ourselves, and we're going to see ourselves walking through the most beautiful forest, the most beautiful field that you've ever seen. And you look down and you see your hands, you see your feet. You look to the side and you see there's trees and there's flowers and there's grass and a beautiful golden path that you're on. You look up and you see the sun shining and you feel it on your skin and you feel the breeze. And you continue to walk forward and you see this bridge there. And there's a sign with your name on it. And so you look down at your feet and you walk across the bridge. And as you do, you see this figure coming toward you, and it's the most beautiful energy that you've ever felt. And you look up and you see this figure, you see this person, and they're almost glowing. And you recognize them because they look just like you. And so this is your highest self, and they hug you, and they take your hand, and you walk the rest of the way of the bridge with them. And when you reach the other side, they show you there's these three circles of people. And they introduce you to the first circle. It's three circles that are within each other. And so this first big circle of people, they're these people that you know, they're your support system. You see family and friends there. You see your dog. You see all of your support that's here with us on earth at this moment. Maybe it's a friend from 3rd grade that you haven't seen in so long. Maybe it's that teacher you had, or that coach. And everyone's cheering you on. They're high-fiving you. They're so happy to see you. And they're saying, we are here and we got your back. And then your highest self takes you into the second circle. And here you recognize some people, but not everyone. And soon you realize that these are people that are no longer on this earth. These are people that have passed. And you notice maybe there's your grandparents that are no longer with us, a friend, your childhood dog. Maybe even you see your grandparents. You see your ancestors. This is your lineage. This is where you came from. These are people and spirits and guides that are with you every single day, and that you only have to ask to speak with, that they are with you in your heart. And as you look around and you're recognizing, and even not recognizing, there's someone that calls you over. And so you walk over to them. And they say, I have something to tell you. And there, with an open heart and open arms, you receive their message. And then they give you a big hug. And your highest self takes you into the third and last circle. In this circle, you look around and you see every you that has ever existed. You're a baby, you're a toddler, you're an adolescent, you're a young adult. There's you from yesterday. There's the you that has had the best days of their life, and there's the you that has struggled and hurt and is on the floor. In this circle, you look around and you find the you that is hurt. Maybe they're around 7, 8 years old. And maybe they're standing in the back of everyone else. Maybe they're confused. Maybe they've seen something they shouldn't have seen. Maybe they're growing up way too fast. And with this you, go to them and hold them. Hug them. Stroke their hair. Wipe the tears from their eyes. Tell them they don't have to hurt anymore because you are here to support them now. When no one else was there for them, you promise that you will be there for them now. with tears, a smile, and a hug. You then go to you that's had the best day of your life. Maybe you aced the test, you got the job, you moved to Bali, you got the partner, your own fire, whatever this day is. And you go and you jump up and down with them and you smile with them and you tell them there will be so many more. And you look around at all of these yous and you know that everyone is inside of you. And then as you realize you are here in the center of every you that's ever been, of every guide, of every spirit, of every ancestor, of all the physical support you have in the world, you are standing in that very middle circle. And you're feeling again that sun on your skin and that breeze on your face. You're feeling all the oceans inside of you, and you're feeling the fire in your heart. And you know that you are part of the universe and the universe isn't part of you. And at this moment, your highest self comes and takes you. They lead you back across the bridge, back to the middle where it all began, and they give you the biggest hug. And they say, this place is accessible to you at any time. Come here. See your support, know your support, call on your support, and know the depths of which you have come and to where you'll go. And as you walk across the bridge alone and back into the field that you come from, you feel every sense of your body. And you feel the love and the support inside your body, inside of your heart. And with a big, deep breath, you open your eyes. So I'll never forget when I walked that walk, I saw those things and I felt everything. And I got out of that breath work and I scribbled everything in a journal. I wrote a diagram. And I was like, this is going to be with me my entire life. And so now I'm in the process actually writing that as a book, and I have an illustrator that's working with me on the like the cover piece of it now, and it's something that's like so deep in my heart.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You know, beautiful. It's nice to get like a practical, right? Because it's okay to talk about stuff, but it's better to feel. The big sense of feeling. So remember, if you have a question, just raise your hand and the microphone will find its way to you. So higher self might be tricky to put into words, this one. But, you know, you come from this rational view on things, so I think you're actually a great person to ask. So what is higher self? And is higher self always supporting you?
Yes. I would say higher self is always supporting you. My definition of highest self is essentially that, this is a difficult one, but like that highest piece of consciousness from where you come. So earlier, as we talked about how like there's this collective consciousness, like I think that that's where a highest self might live and belong. It's not the you that does everything right and all of that. This is rebellion against perfection. We're not going there. It is more like the deepest love, the deepest love. Like the part of you in which everything can come from love.
I was 12 years old, right? Mentioned this children's home before. I saw hundreds of kids go through this orphanage. I was the only black kid at school for the first 13, 14 years. So my belief system was based upon Caucasian values. I look at everybody here, everyone's pretty much Caucasian apart from one. It's okay. And so, yeah, everything which I looked at, that was my view on it. Mm-hmm. So I had a mirror up to my face. I used to do this a lot over a number of years, right? Where I put my mirror up to my face, say, that nose has got to go. too wide. Lips got to get changed because they're too big. Head too pointed. All of these things, right? I would pull everything apart. Contemplated suicide, yes. Would I've ever commit suicide? I don't know. But I definitely was I was very down, right? But no one knew this because I was extrovert at school, introvert at home. Right, because I was great at sport. But this is what happened, right? But this one time when I was 12, right, I remember where I was spiraling down. And I remember with all the voices that were pulling me, yeah, you should get this change. Yeah, you're ugly. Yeah, you're this. Yeah, you're that. You're a coconut. All of this stuff coming in. Then one voice came up, and that voice was, yeah, but Rob, look after your skin. Right? Look after your skin. This was the first time that I'd ever heard not the nature of what it said, but the nature of where it came from.
Ooh, yes.
Right? Which felt like my soul was talking to, which I couldn't have said this at the time. All I knew was it came from a different place.
Yes.
Right? And a place of warmth and a place that was actually supportive.
Yes.
Right? As opposed to pulling me apart and saying you're bad and wrong and you're ugly and all the rest of this stuff. So that voice has always been there, right? I've noticed it and I tune into it when it's needed and all the rest of that. So is there, talking about this collective wisdom, this collective consciousness, this inner voice, this inner connection, right? Is there something for you which comes up?
It's funny that you had said that about the voice that you heard, because I think we all have that voice of that little voice in the back of our head where it's no, you are beautiful, yeah. But what's interesting is I think that some people do actually hear audio, voices, and some people may see things, and we all have these different gifts, and you call it psychic ability or you're clairvoyant, whatever it is, but I really think that we all can tap into those as well, and I think that's also part of this highest self, and I think that also is part of this collective consciousness of humanity, to be able to pull on all of our different gifts. That's what it makes me think of.
Love it. And before we go to that one question, how do you connect with it? So let's say that, customer, client walks in, they've heard you, they love your style, they love the fact that you're open and you're honest about your own situation, right? You don't sugarcoat everything. Rebellion Against Perfection, right? Great title, by the way. Right. So they want to come and see you. Now, they are trying to connect with that we are talking of now. So is there an approach or a way in which, because you said earlier on that what you love to do is that you love to empower people to find things for themselves,
Yes.
right? So is there a way or a methodology or a process or a feeling? How do you get people to see who they are and connect with that?
I think it starts with that. A lot of us are very much in our head, right? So bringing people into their body. So for me, that a lot of times comes down to breath and breath work. So bringing people into their breath, using, whether it's you're answering your own questions, verbally using your mind, whether it's dropping into your body through meditation, through breath work, those are, I think, the starting points for me and what I use, because it's all about getting in here first. And some people, they've never, ever considered, listening to themselves or considered the idea that their answers are within them. That is such a foreign idea for some people. So bringing them in very slowly, because again, this isn't this woo spirituality either. This is a scientific way of going in, using your breath, using your meditation, using your visualization, bringing yourself home to you.
Got it. Beautiful.
Ooh.
Well, hello, Miss Janko. Thank you for sharing.
That's my man.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. I have a question that maybe some of the viewers could relate to. I noticed that you had mentioned very briefly that you had went through a divorce. Was that an easy thing, or was that a big part of your story?
Thank you. That's a big part of my story. because that was very much, that was expectation. That was expectation of family, of friends, of my religion. It was all expectation. And to say and to make that statement and just say, I don't want to do this. This isn't me. Like, I have to go. Like, that was the first time I think I truly used my voice. And I realized how much power was in my voice. And I think that really changed a lot of things for me. I think that was such a big piece of my next step and my next step and my next step, and ultimately led me here to Bali. And it was through breathwork that I was able to feel everything, feel all those emotions from that. And also there was so much guilt around this, so much shame around this. There was so much I'm the bad person. I am, there was so much. And that it took me a really, really long time to even know, to address, to open up about. It was something I was so embarrassed of, because it was I wasn't enough is what it came down to. I couldn't do it, And I think that's a big part of my story, because that was part of the perfection, and that was the biggest piece, was leaving him, leaving the job, leaving the church, leaving all of these things, all of these expectations behind, and instead following who I was at my core, that little girl doing cartwheels and dancing to the beat of my own drum.
How do you deal with the I am not enough, which a lot of people are dealing with, right?
Oh, not to say everyone, but everyone. There's a I think it's so easy for us to compare, to look at other people through social media, through all of these different ways, and just to say I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. And what has helped me in that space is connecting with myself, looking in the mirror, doing some mirror work, and also celebrating where I am, celebrating those little wins, celebrating those with a partner. That's something that Ross and I talk about all the time. Is we'll do gratitude, but we'll do gratitude for ourselves, congratulations gratitude. I'm proud of myself for doing A, B, and C, and just reminding yourself of all the incredible things that you're doing, because no matter what, I can pick out probably 5 amazing things that you did yesterday, or 5 amazing qualities that you have. We all have something to offer, and I think that gearing ourselves, seeing those things, is what can really help with that not enoughness.
Any other questions out there?
I got one for you.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. So it's on, darling. It's on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been lucky enough to get to live with the beautiful Jamie, and so I really get to know her behind the scenes. And what I'm really inspired by you about is your capacity to really love unconditionally and really embody that. And especially in relationships, and you allow a space for people to grow and have freedom within that. So my question for you is, how have you developed that capacity to, it's to love courageously even when it might not work out?
That's a great question. I think it has been through experience, because I know that I've not always been the easiest person to love. And I think there have been people in my life that have showed me courageous and unconditional love and support. And I think that in learning that, and also in age, I really think as we get older, there is so much more capacity for a lot of different things, whether it be to love or to be brave or to be outspoken or to just not give a fuck. It all comes with age. And I think that has definitely fared well for me too.
Yeah. I agree and I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Because I think with age as well, I'm getting older, we're all getting older. But it's easier to bullshit yourself too. Like, like we say, I'm stuck in my ways, or we get stuck in our ways, right? So then to keep relearning, I think can be challenging for a lot of people. So great questions, both of you, by the way. So I would give yourself more props than that. Me personally, that's where I come from, because it's not so easy. For a lot of people that I speak to, with age, to be so transparent, and to be, because in a way there's more to lose. Yes, in a certain way it's like, but more to lose is my own ego. Actually, that's what's at the core of it, straight up, right? But it can be very difficult to get there for some people, right? So yeah, great question. Love the response. What in this area, has been, because the divorce, and I appreciate the question because I was going there, so I appreciate you coming sooner, because I think it's a huge thing, because I've got 3 friends at the moment who I would never embarrass them or put the name up there, who are going through probably the worst divorces I've ever seen, right? And we're talking about even movies. It's like far out, crazy. But I think there's so much dystopia about, you mentioned the shame, and you were mentioning about being in the South and religion and all these things of, you get married once, right? You never divorce, right? You get married once. Like, I lived in Italy for a little while. Like, there, you can have affairs and mistresses, but it's like, how does that work? Anyway, not for all Italians, sorry. But you watch this, hate mail. No, I'm half Italian, give me a break. But I think it's extremely difficult because, I think a lot of women are in that position where they feel the need that they have to keep up with what mum and the whole matriarchal society believes, as well as society in a way that media and everything else shapes it and containerizes it in a way that, that it's your fault if this thing breaks down. Like, how can you leave your kids and all the rest of that? So, like you mentioned before, about some of the shame and stuff like that. And you mentioned it took you a while. But one thing comes up is that what was the hardest thing ever for you to really overcome, and how did breathwork really help to heal that, really?
I think it was, the most difficult thing was living one way on paper and living another way inside. And I remember even in baseball speaking to just groups of high school students and college students and saying you can do it all, you can have it all, you can have this career, you can be a doting wife, you can do the house stuff, you can have kids, you can do it all. And I was lying through my teeth. I lied for so long. And I didn't have to. And I didn't know that I didn't have to. And if you look at my relationship before, and you look at the reason of divorce, I felt like it was never reason enough. You can't just say honestly, I think I could have stayed and it would have been fine. It would have been fine. But I couldn't. I couldn't. It wasn't anything crazy. No one cheated on each other. No one hated each other. No one was mishandling money. There were none of those concrete kind of reasons. It was just we are different and going different paths. And that's what it is. And so I felt too that there wasn't enough of a reason to go when things were just fine. But do I want to live a life of mediocrity and a life of not really truly being who I am and expressing the me that there really is inside versus the me that's on paper? So I think the hardest part in all of it was being 2 different people and not living the true person that was inside. And I think a lot of women, they're living through this too. And there's a lot of people that, in a place like this, where things aren't bad, they're just not good, go to therapy or decide to have children or all of these different things. And it's it's okay to break up without a huge debacle. That's okay. And that's an option. You don't have to stay.
So then, like the clients that you have, we're in a very, very interesting period of time, let's call it that. What are some of the things which are coming up right now with people that are either reaching out to you or people that you're seeing or people that you're talking to? What are some of the biggest challenges and challenges that they're facing, and how are you helping them to overcome them?
Some of the biggest challenges are like corporate burnout. I also have some clients that are kind of in their 20s, and they are just trying to, it's living by themselves for the first time. It is like relationships. It's like growing into their own. What's so funny is I feel like every client I attract we're doing the same thing, right? It's like those are the kind of people you attract. It's those that are going through things that I've gone through in my life, that I've had very similar experiences. The universe brings them to me. And what I have found is that through a way of becoming much more like mindful and aware, plus putting in the physical, the nutrition, and like wrapping it all together, it really does wonders, because it's not just one thing that helps people. It is this group of all these different modalities, and it just depends on what comes up in the moment. And that's not something that I've always been very great at, I think, is what I have found in this kind of coaching container that I've created now is that it's very loose. It's very on the fly of what's coming up, that's where we go. What's coming up, that's where we go. And that's been quite an adjustment for me, because in personal training it's very much this is our goal, this is exactly how we get there. It's very linear, and it's very different. So a lot of different modalities, and then just being very open to what happens in that moment, in their bodies.
So now, nutrition we haven't spoken about. So I'm glad you brought that up. So what part does nutrition play in this? And is there any, when I bring that up, is there any story or any example?
Oh my gosh.
That comes up that you could
yes.
Talk about?
So there are so many different beliefs when it comes to nutrition. Right? There's so many different diets to follow, so many different fads, so many different things. One of my favorite stories is a client that I had. She was seeing a nutritionist, comes in, and she's on, I think she was on 1,400 calories when I met her. And again, I like people to empower themselves, answer their own questions. So she starts to track her food, and she's asking herself, how am I feeling? How am I showing up? How are my workouts? What am I feeling? And the answers didn't come back very good, because she was drastically under eating, as so many women do, because someone along the way said 1,200 calories for women, and that is complete bullshit. And so she is in this place, she's not feeling good in her body, and so we just started adding little by little by little by little, and she was able to get up to about 2,100 calories, lost weight, felt so good in her body. And it was just because this one person told her one thing. She's reading these things in magazines, and she's not just using simplicity and just a moderate, that's kind of a tangent, but what I'm trying to say is that a lot of times women drastically undereat, and that's a lot of times the place where I start with nutrition. It starts with that, getting rid of processed foods and any kind of terrible oils and inflammatory kind of foods, and finding what works for them, what they like, what they enjoy, so it doesn't feel like they are being deprived of anything.
So then, tonight, great title, right? So why did you choose that title?
So that came to me as I was leaving the Dodgers. So that was 2018. And I remember during that time...
And the title is, for those?
Rebellion Against Perfection. I actually probably came before that, because I had mentioned my uncle a little bit. He passed away in 2014. And at that moment, the world stopped. Everything stopped. I remember my mom called me and told me that he had passed away. I was at Trader Joe's, and I just dropped my basket and sat on the floor and cried. I was like, what's happening? This man's 50 years old. He's taught me everything about fitness. We would run 10Ks together. We would do all of this stuff together. Healthiest man. And I would say one of the smartest people I'd ever met, from a small town. And he was one that encouraged me to get out. He's the one that encouraged me to get to Atlanta, and then to New York, and then to LA. This man had a huge hold on my heart. and I was so angry. And that was like one of those, you have moments in your life where it's like, knock, knock, wake up, something's happening, wake up, wake up. That was one of my first ones that I feel so much even talking about it. And that's when it kind of started. This when I started questioning, like, what am I doing versus what am I supposed to be doing? Where do I land? Where do I sit on this? What do I feel? What do I think? Can I dare say it? And so that played in my mind for a few years. And it wasn't until probably 2017 when I knew I wanted to leave the Dodgers, and then made that happen in 2018, and which led me to leaving my husband in 2018-19. Like that, it was during all of those pieces, because I was so angry. And so it was like, fuck perfection. All of you people that are expecting all these things from me, I don't have it. I'm not going to lie anymore. I'm going to be who I really am. And that's where I came from.
It's a powerful message right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very powerful message. Love that. Yeah. So, like, is there anything else that because again, we can talk for hours.
I know we
and I,
could.
clearly, right? But is there anything else that you'd like to cover? Is there anything else that comes up that we haven't discussed yet? You think, you know what? I would like to mention that. Just have a feel into it. Now, does anyone else have any questions? Just checking in. No. Looks like the microphone. Yeah, we do. There you go.
I wonder, so now being a mentor, a coach for others, and working with other people, how do you cope with your own anger if sometimes you can still feel this? And how do you help yourself we all have this shadow side, this dark side that we cannot ignore completely. Even especially if you're dealing with people and working with them, sometimes you just you're tired. You need some time just to yourself. So what is the best way for you? And do you still feel this? How do you cope with your feelings? How do you help yourself? Or you just allow yourself to feel this way, to release your shadow, your dark side? And what is maybe ecological way to be okay with all spectrum of all the feelings and emotions you can experience? Yeah.
I love that question, because that is it. We are, as humans, spectrums of emotions, and to feel it and to be in it is part of the human experience. And in my opinion, I would say the most important part of the human experience, almost our purpose, is to feel all of this. And so I remember there was, when I was in personal training, I remember someone that once told me, when you have a client that comes in that's a little difficult, imagine them coming in wearing this heavy mink coat, and you take their coat for them during the session, and then when they leave, you give them their coat back and they leave. So that really resonated with me so much then, because it was so much about not taking on other people's energy, because that is something so easy for me to do. And so keeping that in mind, but when I am going through my own shit, I reach out for help, and I don't wait until I'm in it. I think it's really important, whether it's some kind of therapy or whatever what helps you the most, staying on top of that, and not saying oh, now I'm at a bad place, I need to go to my therapist, or I need to go and do this thing, but constantly being in practice and routine, whether it's journaling or gratitude or whatever the pieces are, whether part of your day, but finding a way to always allow your feelings to exist with them, and then finding that outside help too.
Anybody else? I see that. Is there any secondary questions out, my dear? Any follow-up? It's okay. You can ask it. It's okay. Because remember, right? So the way that this whole thing works, collective consciousness, as you said before, there's a bunch of us here in this room, and so what is created is by a bunch of us. So the question that you probably have, that you're thinking, I can't answer that question, I don't want to monopolize the microphone. Someone else has that same question, but for whichever reason doesn't want to ask. So by you asking, you're doing a service to them also. So feel free to come with a secondary go. They're good. morning routine?
Okay. Stay in bed and waddle around in the covers. Look outside. It's beautiful. So I've been through lots of different morning routines. Oh my gosh, the super like militant, like get up, I've got to do my gratitude, I've got to do this. Oh my gosh, I'm at a point now in my life where some days I want to get up, I want to move. Some days I want to cuddle in bed with my partner for, I don't know, hours, a long while. So there's just, every day is different. What I do think is important to me in the morning is when I wake up, like I really want to I want to feel my skin. Like I want to cuddle up in my covers. Like I want to feel all my senses wake up. I want to move around a little bit. That's not necessarily going to be like, go do 10 minutes of yoga. It's really just whatever my body wants at the moment. But it is awareness, it's mindfulness, and it's starting my day from a place of checking in with myself and not just like rolling out of bed to go to work.
Got it. And any nighttime routine?
Not necessarily, but lately, or just like one time, or getting into the routine of like moving a little bit. So it's like a light yoga. I'm a total like tea gal, so like a nice peppermint or a chamomile. So just kind of winding down into sleep, and even like a little meditation before sleep is really, really nice.
So one thing which I've been doing with our kids, right? They're 5 and 7, 2 girls. Is that so? Before we go to sleep, I ask them to think of 3 things. Remember that one? 3 things during that day that's happened that they're very appreciative or happy of, right? So in a way, they kind of go to bed with this happy, like alert, like I'm really grateful for X and Y and Z.
Yes.
And it could be as easy as taking a breath, could be as easy as me playing with them, or or just chasing them or throwing them in the pool, whatever it might have been. Maybe not throw them in the pool.
Oh, why not?
But hey, she asked for it, man. She asked for it. She got what she asked for. So something like that is I found is really cool. And then the morning one has been, like kind of that first thought. Something that is empowering, that is lifting you up, something that you're going for, like a mini movie or something, but that mind, body, spirit.
Yes.
Something for the mind, something for the body, something for the spirit.
I love that.
Got it.
That's funny that you were talking about the 3 things at night. Something we will do is what we call high-low unicorn. So during the day, so it's like, okay, high-low unicorn. The high is the high that happened during the day, the best thing that happened. The low is maybe not something great that happened, but whatever it was. It could be like my lunch wasn't tasty, whatever. And then unicorn is something that was unexpected, good or bad, but it's usually in Bali, it's something a really fun, unexpected twist you had of the day. So high-low unicorn is something we've been playing for a long time.
Love it. Now, I've got 2 more questions, but remember, nothing is scheduled here. Now, my darling, do you have any more questions?
My God, many.
Yeah, ask it.
One question about, like, people say that it's easy to be happy in Bali because we live in paradise. But if you deal with people who are like outside Bali, and they don't live in this beautiful surrounding, and this neighborhood is not so sunny, friendly, and there is no ocean, just like 10 minutes from your house. So when you don't have any outside reasons to be happy, maybe like advice, what is the best way to grow this happiness from inside? How is it possible to find this strength to be still happy no matter what, and to enlarge this inner love that you were talking about in this meditation?
Great question. I knew you had another one. Well done.
I need to share it with the audience.
No, but listen, it's a beautiful question. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. And I'll start with the beginning on this. I would say some of the toughest times I've had in my life have also been in Bali. So while there is an idea of this is paradise and this is, this perfect life in Bali, we sitting here, we all know that's not the truth. We've probably all had really tough times here in Bali. So I think regardless of kind of what the outside looks like, there is still that place where like really hard things can happen, and you really have to lean on yourself. And I think that comes back to just time and time again of trusting yourself and finding that inner trust that I remember writing this list of like things I can trust. It was so impactful to me because what can I trust? I can trust my breath. I trust that, I trust in my partner. I trust that I'm going to open my eyes tomorrow. Like, I trust these things, and knowing that you can cultivate that inside of you and start showing yourself evidence of it. So evidence of, when this happened, I did this. When this happened, I did that. And after time, just like continuing to create and cultivate the love and the support that maybe you don't receive from anyone else. Maybe you have to support yourself.
More.
Yeah.
Of course you do. I knew that. We knew that. It's all good. Please say.
It's good too. About criticism. So sometimes when you start something new, so like for instance, you had like career, family, husband, like some previous life, and now you need to start anything, like something from the scratch. Like move to Bali, you have nothing, and most people face this uncertainty, and they have this fear that nobody will support them and everybody will criticize them. And in fact, lots of people criticize them, especially the like close people who used to be your circle. They criticize you. They're the first who criticize you. Have you had this problem, and like how did you manage to overcome that?
I haven't listened to the criticism, and I know that that is easier said than done. I was really embarrassed to admit my marriage was falling apart. I was really worried about what his family was going to think, say, and do. I was really worried about my little cousins who look at me as a guide and a mentor. But I think that when you're coming from the most authentic place in your body and that you have no other choice but to be you, there is no criticism that can rattle that. There just isn't. And I think that it may take a little bit of time to get to that place. But I think that if you are speaking what is true and what is most honest and you feel it in your body, what's anybody going to do? It doesn't matter.
Thank you.
You know, like what that brings up as well is, this awareness of the people you surround yourself with. Right? Mm-hmm. And, it's almost like the acorn seed pops in my head. We're like acorn seeds, all of us, right? And based upon where we are placed, fertile soil, infertile soil, whether there's enough nutrition, water, all the rest of that, sunlight, and all that, can determine whether the intelligence inside this acorn seed, this majesty and greatness, gets to express itself in this incredible acorn tree that's like around for hundreds of years, massive, like fruitful and like abundant, or whether that doesn't happen at all and we always remain just a seed. We never get to grow, or go any further. And what I hear in your story is, and the man who died at 50 was a guy who was perpetually invested in trying to put you in fertile soil. Yes. is what I keep hearing, which is phenomenal, because ultimately, right, that's it, right? It's being around people that not only just blow smoke up your ass to say, oh, you're amazing, but who tell you the truth with love.
Yes.
But tell you the hard truth. You know what I mean? Not just, I'm not trying to make you feel good for the rest of your life, but tell you the hard truth. And then you're able to respond to that in a way that taps into that intelligence and brilliance that you also have, right? Like what's this word? My favorite poem is Goethe, right? The moment one truly commits oneself, then providence moves too. So the moment that one truly commits oneself, then providence moves too. Providence is also New England coastline. Yep, no problem. But in this poem with Goethe, it means then God moves too. So it's like synchronicity, yes. Right? But it's not necessarily synchronicity, which is like, oh, there you go. it can sometimes present itself as a really big challenge that's ugly and horrible and nasty and just, I don't want to look at it. I want to avoid it. I want to run away from it. It can present itself as that. But through you meeting that challenge in whichever way it comes, you get to grow to become the person, and in that enhanced person that gets to become this majestic tree of whatever that means for you, you know. So so what keeps constantly coming back is who you hanging out with, who is part of your life, how are they contributing to you? Are they contributing to you? If not, why are they there? You know, so, which is a question coming in actually. So this beautiful man who is your partner, clearly a beautiful man with great fashion sense. Won't go there. I just did, damn it. And a beard. You know, like, because this is holistic, right? So we've been talking about ourselves, the individual, but this holistic, I believe, right, also should involve the people in your life.
Yes.
And your partner. So then when it comes to, you know, this beautiful man here, you know, or if somebody asked you, this lady here has some really great questions, right? And said, okay, what sort of partner should I be looking for? What would you say?
6'8". When I think of that, I think of just a brave and a courageous man with a brave and courageous heart. Someone that isn't scared to go deep within themselves, to question everything, and to just love so hard. And I think that an amazing partner is one that challenges you and that makes you better. I know that sounds a little on the cliche side, but it's like it's challenging each other and it's leveling each other up all the time and creating a really safe space for that.
How do you find that? Now, let me preface the question. So we've spoken about inside, outside. And I've got so many girlfriends who are like, in Bali, you can't find any decent men, and so on, right? Now, I'm not saying it's true or it's false. That's their reality. Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
But there is something there, right? So, so inside, outside. How do you attract? So if you're a woman out there who's coming saying, hey, I can't find any decent guys in Bali, how do I attract them? What would you say?
I think that comes into, it's all here. It's all about you. So you're going out, you're looking for these men, you're not going to find them. If you're out, you're searching, search within. I think that creating a space within you, a space that supports yourself, loves yourself, wants yourself, all of those things, and being so true and in love with yourself, that's when that magic kind of happens. And I think that you don't have to be in this perfect place for your partner to come. I know that I wasn't in a place for, I thought, a relationship, and I've changed so much in the time that Ross and I have been together. But the thing is, I was so open to possibility, open to magic. I hear very often, too, that there are no great men in Bali and all of these things about the men that are in Bali. I think that is such bullshit. I know some amazing men in Bali and some that are in this room. So I think that it's about cultivating this stuff within. And I know that's probably not something that someone would want to hear. But I do think that it starts with you and with how you love and treat, respect, and support yourself.
Got it. Thank you. Now, the microphone came forward. Did anyone else have a question? Last question going once? No, we're good. All right. So what we're going to do in about a minute and a half or so is, so how we end the show is that we give it to you, the guest, anything that maybe you want to re-emphasize, reinforce, restate, or it might be something that you've forgotten or something that pops in, I've got to talk about this. Whatever it might be, we'll give you an opportunity to do that, right? And then after that, we'll close the show. Okay. It's about a minute and a half. So for those of you here, firstly, just want to thank everybody who's here, studio audience, for coming this week. most appreciated. I trust that there's something that is either gained, imbibed, caught in some way, shape or form. I think so, because there's some really good questions. The depth of questions often tells the depth of people's understanding. Actually, it's all connected. Quite interesting. So, understand we have 3 Speak Up Monday streams a week. So Speak Up Monday is an award-winning Q&A. Been going for almost 3 years. About 169 this one is. And so Speak Up Monday group on Facebook. Speak Up Monday group on Facebook is probably the best way to interact. Otherwise, Instagram is the same, but that's more of a bulletin. And so tomorrow morning, if you're up early at 7 a.m. and on Clubhouse, tomorrow interviewing a guy called Jamie Morgan Bay. This guy was basically dead. So he was he had some incredibly rare form of cancer and was dying, right? And was I think pretty much pronounced dead. What happened was that he ate his way back to health, not in theory, literally. Like he ate his way back to health. So he's got this catchphrase of like, what you're putting in your mouth is either killing you or it's healing you. No in between. Phenomenal guy, best-selling author, voiceover guy. Worked with Michael Jackson. Like been in Hollywood for about 30 years. This guy's amazing. So 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, and that's on Clubhouse. Speak Up Monday. Just look for the club. Speak Up Monday. So that's then, and then on Wednesday is a replay of. For those of you who have been to Korambutan, which is like close to Tabanan, we interviewed the king of Tabanan, or the king of Korambutan, Erwan, incredible, impeccable man. And so we're going to be replaying that interview on Wednesday. And again, a phenomenal guy, like a beautiful soul, Erwan, king of Korambutan. So, yeah, and that one is about tourism and about socioeconomics and a whole bunch of other things. So it's a very interesting interview we did. I think that was like 4 or 5 months ago. So we'll be replaying that one on Wednesday. And then in the meantime, love to thank Tropical Nomad here, Ichi, Bella. Guzman is away, but we've got our other one, Ayub. Brother, thank you very much indeed. And feel free to come and join us every Monday at 6:30 to know what's coming up. Just make sure that you keep an eye on those different feeds, right? So Speak Up Monday group, Facebook, and Speak Up Monday on Instagram. I look forward to seeing you all very soon next time. And remember, like, keep on supporting each other. People do inspire people, and inspiration can be caught, not taught. So, Sister Jamie, thank you so much, darling. You've been, like, we don't set this up, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was question number 3 was like, when it came in, I was like, damn, it's a bit harsh. She only just got here. It was like, the questions come through and I just speak them, right? So, but I thought far out, that was a bit harsh. And like, you did extremely well. Like that question, I know you kind of, ooh.
Which
like,
question?
Oh, I don't remember, but I know it's question number 3.
3 is my favorite number.
Yeah, it was like, ooh, I could feel but you've done incredibly well. And like, I think what Speak Up Monday is about revealing the person. Mm-hmm. Right? That's kind of what it's about, really, because there's certain questions where we can hide, right?
Absolutely.
And if it's like a surface level interview the whole way, then there's nothing that comes out of it, right? Whereas this, the idea behind it is that we all gain something, right? The audience, who either here in person or watching, gain something. As an interviewer, I'm always learning. I'm always picking things up. You as a guest, instead of having like an autopilot type interview where it's like, been there before, seen it, it's not cool. Like the idea is that it's like a clock. Mm-hmm. So you got 1 to 12, right? So 1 to 2 is what you know that you know. I know my name, I know where I'm from, I know how tall I am, all the rest of that. 6'8". All right, 6'4". Right? Now 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 is like, this is the stuff that I know that I don't know. Mm-hmm. So I know that I'm not really good at mathematics. I know that I don't know how nuclear fission really works. Mm-hmm. I don't know how a rocket goes into space, right? And then there's 4 till 12, which is, this is stuff that I don't know that I don't know.
That's it.
And that's where, as a guest, we would love you to get to. There's some things in there which it causes you to think and go, you know what? I don't know the answer, or I need to give that one more thought, or I haven't thought about that one ever before, or not for a while. And this is the important part, but it takes you, the guest, being open to that process as well to be able to go there, right?
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I give props to you. Thank you for being part of this and being honest.
Thanks.
Respect. Over to you.
I think I will. I was listening to what you were saying, and so I was like, I'll just feel in my body whatever comes out when it needs to come out. And what that looks like now is, I've found myself through this saying so many times, you live by doing. And so I think that that's something that I've carried a lot in my life. And it's living by experience, living through adventure, living through love, living through all of these senses that we have. In human form, I am pretty confident this is the only time and space we're going to have the senses that we're going to be able to feel, we're going to be able to touch and taste and smell. This is humanness. This is like the most human piece. So what I would challenge everyone to do is think a little bit more about their senses, feel into their senses a little bit more, whether it is that like touch of the sheets in the morning or the cuddles or like whatever it is, but find like, let the sun like dance on your skin, feel the wind, just feel. And I think that brings the outside, the external, also into the internal. So yes, living by doing, by adventure, feeling, and then also allowing yourself to break this idea of perfection. I think a lot of us go through life just wanting to be perfect, knowing that people are expecting us to be perfect, but at the end of the day, no one expects that. Even your parents don't expect that. Give yourself some grace. And I think that's it. I think that it doesn't have to be something quite as like strong or harsh as like rebellion. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a softness. It can be something in a very soft way of just speaking your own truth, living in your voice, and letting that expression come out. Let it be your playground.
Love it. And how do people get in touch with you?
Again, through Instagram is the easiest. Jamie Janko.
Spell it.
JamieJanko.
Congratulations. Thanks, everybody.